Okay, so Yusuf, tell me back to the end of 2020 when you first experienced a trigger moment to finally make a change. What was the series of moments that led to your first trigger?
Yeah, so I think thank you, Akash, and thanks for having me here. So uh, I think there have been multiple kind of instances which have led me to focus on fitness in general. So I have always, kind of focused very much on sports since the beginning, and I was kind of focused more on yoga and the mental aspects of fitness. But I think a couple of things happened. First, I think the year before last, my dad was in holiday in Spain, and he got a mild kind of a brain attack. And I think my dad is the healthiest person that I know, especially in terms of nutrition, keeping active, everything. And that's where I get a lot of the good habits from my family. So that was something that triggered me. That's like, of course, we all think that we live a relatively healthy lifestyle, but what exactly is a healthy lifestyle, right? So that started on this questioning kind of a journey for me, and and then of course I think uh, personally I think my wife, she Rashida, who is also doing the RNT journey with me, she kind of after her second delivery, I think she was struggling a little bit to get back onto her previous pre-pregnancy weight, despite trying many things. Uh, so what happened was, of course, I knew about you personally as an entrepreneur. I've seen you in various forums and groups on Facebook and other places, and I always kind of was very impressed with the way the whole R&T framework was laid out, and the whole process-oriented aspect to fitness. But I never actually kind of felt the push to try it out because of being very busy with work, and because in general I wasn't entirely dissatisfied by my routine. I mean, it was not perfect, it was not optimal, but I used to get by with what I used to do. So, but then when this happened, so I recommended my wife that I know this entrepreneur, who is really good, and I think you should give it a shot. She tried many celebrity fitness trainers, everything. She has done everything under the sun, but she just couldn't get those final results that she was looking for. And so, but in order for her to try this, she obviously was not very convinced. Um, but then I told her that why don't we do this thing? She said that this is your recommendation, so why don't you do it? Why are you telling me to do it? So that's why I told her that
I like
actually
that.
yeah. So I really told her this is going to work for you. I can guarantee it. In fact, I already told her that all the celebrity trainers and everybody that you are hiring, okay, are you confident that they will be able to give you what you want? So she said, no, it's not about confidence. I think they have helped many other people, so they can help me as well. So I said, okay, why don't you ask them in writing? So can they give you a contract that if you don't get the results that you want, they will refund all the money back? Yeah. Can they give that to you in writing? And she said, no, I don't think any personal trainer can give you that assurance that, if she doesn't get results back, she'll get, then you will get the money back. So I told her that, why don't you try R&T? Yeah. If it doesn't work, then I will give you the money back in some shape or form. Don't worry about, I'm going to give you the contract. If you try this, it will work, because I have seen this, and I think the process and everything is something that has a huge chance of success, because I did my research. So then she said, okay, fine, but you also have but of course because I had recommended her, I also said I was also going to do it with you, so that we both are on this journey, and we'll do it together. So I think that's how this whole trigger point started for joining R&T. We kind of so I think she tried joining R&T a couple of times, but at that point in time, I think you guys were doing this cohort thing where people cannot just join anytime they want. They have to wait for the starting date. So I think she tried joining in June, whatever, but obviously she and then she tried joining in September, and so I think another thing as well, which I always tell her, that if somebody is playing very hard to get, then just ignore them, because if you don't get good quality support at the beginning, then you are not going to get good quality support at the end as well. But that was not true for RNT, but that was just a general principle that I had kind of, that we follow. But so she just gave up. And then, of course, we had a discussion and then we both signed up.
But just for the listeners, we still running cold. So we open and close. So we have set dates. We weren't saying no to her. It was like, we just don't start at that time. So
absolutely. And I think, that was a difference of understanding, I think, in how the process works. But but I get the benefit of doing it this way, and I get the strategy. I think this is something you are using as a qualification criteria, right? So when you are taking customers on board, you typically qualify them to ensure that they are people who can actually be successful if they sign up. So I think you have a great qualification process of getting your clients. And I really respect that.
So Yusuf, it almost sounds like you had the awareness moment come from your dad, who had this health issue, and then it was Rashida who sort of coerced you into joining it with her, or almost put the buck on you for recommending. But you still have to do the work. So what was really going on inside of you to make you think, look, I'm going to do this with you? What was your deep inside moment? Because you don't just sign up to these things, even if you've told your wife. There is always an underlying reason. What was your reason?
I do things, to kind of to support my wife, of course, So I would sign up to things even when I don't want to do it. Because obviously, we try to do things together. But I think, I have always wanted to do RNT. Because I knew about RNT since 2016, I think, or 2017, yes. So I always knew about RNT, but I think I never actually kind of felt the need to do it alone. But since Rashida was also doing it, I was supporting her, and then that became a trigger moment that yes, fine, let's do it. So because the thing is, I work 80, 90 hours a week and stuff, right? So it is very difficult for me. So I think every opportunity that I get to spend time with my family or my wife, I grab it. I grab that opportunity, very proactively. So this was a thing that we could do together, I think. And that was the trigger moment, I think, for me. So let's do it. Even though I was very busy, I had just started a new venture at the time. I still had my old previous venture running at full capacity, and I had just started a new yoga routine as well, just 1 month before I joined RNT. So I was fully committed to that and kind of learning.
I remember the first virtual meet when you came on. You said, "Look, I started this new company. I'm doing this. I'm doing that."
And I started a house refurbishment project at the same time as well. So it was like I had already too much on my plate at that point. But of course, I think when you take up, I had taken a long time to decide. I always take a long time to decide if I want to do some things. So making that decision is the most challenging thing for me. So figuring out what to do is always a difficult thing. But once I've made my mind, okay, fine. Now I've made up my mind, I'm going to do this, then I usually go ahead and do it. So then I don't look back,
So how did you find starting the process? You're a busy entrepreneur running multiple businesses, lots of other projects on the side, family man. You've got all the typical reasons we hear. You said it yourself that before you were using those excuses. Talk us through the start of the process, because for someone living a extremely busy lifestyle, the idea of saying, right, now you're also going to do some steps, you're going to do training, you're going to cook your food. What was some of your the structure, strategy, and systems that worked really well for you to help you get the flywheel in motion and build the momentum early on?
I think so that's a very good question. There are a couple of things which come into mind. So first thing is that I had read your book. So as soon as we had signed up for the RNT process in September, I think, or October, I don't remember exact date, but we signed for the January 2021 cohort in October. And then I think when I start to take up a project or when I doing something new, I always do a lot of research to prepare myself for what's going to come. So if I'm making a resolution in January, I will actually start doing that from December, so that I know that I'm going to be able to continue Otherwise I won't make that resolution. So I kind of, I started getting into the process from October onwards to get into that mental frame of mind. So I read your book multiple times, I have to say, to grasp all the framework, all the concepts, and what to expect when I start the journey. Now, I think I'm a very process-oriented person. I'm very analytical. I'm very data-driven. So your framework and methodology really appeal to me, which I have not seen with other kind of, fitness approaches. So some of the things that were part of your that are part of your RNT framework, I was already doing that. So that made my journey a bit easier. So for example, I was already drinking, 3 to 4 hours liters of water every day. I was already, doing, I was playing sports, so football, tennis, squash, and badminton regularly during the week. And I was already doing, this Ashtanga yoga, which is a form of power yoga, daily. So I had the discipline into it. So what I had to do is I didn't have a very good knowledge of nutrition. So of course I used to eat healthy intuitively, but that's not the same thing as knowing why you are actually doing it. And of course, there are certain myths that come around with that as well. So nutrition was a big learning was a kind of a big learning aspect for me. So I actually joined Facebook for RNT group.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I went through all the posts, all the material that I could get to. I went through all, so at that time you had a RNT website where you had good content. It was not as well structured as it is now, like in the RNT Pro platform. But nevertheless, I went through as much material that I could at that time to kind of, arm myself with enough information to start the journey seamlessly. So when the journey actually started in January, I was aware about what to expect. I was mentally prepared to do those things. And initially, I think, because me and Rashida started the journey together, we were able to help each other out on the process. So for example, on the meal prep and stuff, initially, because I was very busy in the first couple of months, she used to do, we used to do the meal prep and everything together. She used to do a lot of heavy lifting on nutrition and initially in the journey. And I obviously kind of, used to do kind of, the planning aspect on the training and other things, for both of us, and the walks we used to do together so that, we have accountability for each other. And yeah, so I think early planning, I would say, in terms of, getting into that mindset before the journey actually starts, reading the book to know about, what to expect, sharing the journey together with my wife, and then just getting into it, just getting it done. Because the thing is, the process is not easy, but it's simple. So as long as you follow the things, you can actually do it. So it was difficult, and I think my initial coach was Rob, who was is really good. But some of the meal plans that were created during the CTP phase, kind of it was a learning process, and there were a lot of trial and error that we had to do to get to as kind of something that we can actually follow on a more regular basis. So I think it took a while, but I think first couple of weeks we had a CTP phase, and we got the whole thing nailed down.
Well, it's a very big commonality of like immersing yourself in the process and the materials and the education and everything that's there. The more you kind of immerse yourself, the easier it all becomes, because there's no surprises then. You know, like you said, it's simple but not easy. The blueprint's there. You've just got to execute against it. There's something I remember you talking about with regards to having a feeder strategy to initialize the food prep process. Do you want to talk about this if it may be of use for anyone listening?
Yeah, so I think absolutely, that's a very good question. So, this was something that we figured out a bit late during the process, not in the first couple of months. So, I think first of all, meal prep and all the material that you have on meal prep is absolutely key. Yeah. So, I would in fact go and make this categorical statement that you cannot do the RNT process if you haven't figured out the meal prep process. It's that critical component. So anybody who is listening to this, please go ahead and read that article and figure it out, how to do that, the bulk meal planning process, because that will make your adherence go high. That is the only thing which will make your adherence go high, especially on the nutrition side. So the meal prep process, effectively as it exists in the articles that RNT, that starts effectively, once you have all the ingredients in place, and then of course you make your meals in batch and you store it and stuff like that. But there is what you call in your articles as precursor, right? So what happens before? So sometimes people are so busy, even getting the ingredients becomes a challenge. And how do you automate that process? And this happened when I think my wife, Rashida, my wife, she got COVID. I think she had 5 to 6 months down the line, and she was kind of feeling poorly for a few weeks. And at that time, obviously, I had to figure out, we didn't have time to get the groceries, and things just became a bit more difficult to manage, especially on the nutrition side, because we suddenly, from a team of 2, it became 1 so to do everything. So I basically designed a process, to do all these things automatically. And I'm going to quickly show you how I did that. So there is an Excel sheet, and of course, this is a good, if this is something that you can implement in RNT, that would be a good.
Do you want to share your screen? I know people are listening to this on the podcast, but if you're on YouTube, you can definitely watch what Yusuf's about to unravel. So anyone listening to this on the podcast, just head over to YouTube to see what we're about to unravel.
So this is something that I built. So effectively, from your nutrition plan, you list down all the ingredients, right, that you need. And then you have your serving size.
So Yusuf, just for those who are listening, just speak as though they can't see this as well. Okay, so on the left, yeah.
So yeah, on the left, I have all the ingredients which I need as part of my journey planner or on the RNT Pro platform. You have, for example, from my journey, from my plan, nutrition plan, I have 0% Greek yogurt, banana, strawberries, almond milk, apple, potatoes, cucumber, radish, etc. Yeah, so I have all these items, and then I have the quantities for both me and my wife over here. So, for example, I have 250 grams of yogurt. So this is your daily quantity. So list them down. So from this, you can actually calculate how many total, what is the total amount of quantity that you need per day. So you have basically your, for example, for me and my wife, we have 450 grams of yogurt. Now, what you do is you go to any grocery online delivery platform that you're comfortable with. So, for example, you can either use, Sainsbury or Asda or Tesco or Morrison's or Ocado and Waitrose. And then this is an optional step, obviously, but being a good Jew, I think this is mandatory.
I mean, this is price comparison on another level.
Yeah. So you have the same list over here, and you have basically you do a quick price comparison of all the items on your favorite delivery platforms. And I'm not endorsing any platform here or any website or
what's the Oreo double at the bottom?
This is for the kids, basically.
Oh, okay, there we go. The kids, yeah.
But effectively, because this is something that we obviously we are ordering it for. We order for the kids as well, because somebody else has to cook for them. So you calculate this, and from this you will figure out that for your shopping, what is the best place to get it from, obviously. So from this you can figure it out, because Tesco might not be the cheapest, or Asda might not be the cheapest. So you figure it out for your particular postcode and what your particular situation.
Yeah.
And then you stick to that. And then coming back to this grocery planner, you figure out, okay, and what is the size of the item? So for example, if you're consuming 450 grams per day, and the item size is 1 kg, right, for this, then effectively you will need, half a pot of that. So that is what you calculate. And from there, you can calculate the price per item. And from there, you will be able to calculate, how many items to order, and of course, the total price. So the reason why we do this is that over here, I have total days. So most of the online groceries, have minimum quantity orders. So what you do is you use the days to figure out how many days you will have to order. So if you say 5, for example, So then you have 58. Now some online delivery places will not let you order under 60 pounds, for example. So you say, okay, no, I'm going to order for 6 days, and then I will go over the. So I think we order every week. So you do something like this based on your nutrition plan, and effectively you put this as a shopping list on your whatever online delivery platform that you use, and you just click a button. Every week you just click a button, and you don't have to worry about your ingredients anymore. Effectively.
I like this. Anyone watching, anyone who's not seen this, what we'll also do is we'll put some screenshots in Yusuf's case study, which will be linked in the show notes as well. So definitely check that out. If you're process oriented and you like really good structure and data and numbers, and you want to make your life easy, this is definitely, I'm gonna have to get that template off you.
Yeah, happy to help. So and this effectively brings in that little kind of automation or precursor or whatever you want to call it before the meal prep process starts, so that you are never actually out of ingredients when you need it. And every week or whatever frequency you decide, you have all your ingredients delivered automatically with a single click of button, and you don't have to worry about food prep after this.
So then how did you do the food prep then? What were you doing? Because I like, for example, I batch my carbs, and then I cook some other ones fresh because they're quick meals. So how do you do it? What was your process that you still like to do?
So I think, if you look at, so I think my meal planner, the nutrition plan looks a lot different from when I started, right? So we have done so many tweaks and so many. So the way we have kind of, done it is lunch should not take more than 20 minutes to do end to end. Yeah.
For a week or for a meal?
Per day. Per day.
Okay. Yeah.
So total food prep time is around 1 hour per week. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not a lot. It's very quick. But then every day we spend around 20 minutes to prepare lunch, and around another 25 minutes to prepare dinner. So total, I think we spend around 45 to 50 minutes per day. Because obviously, you can still do a lot more. You can just, if you do this everything in advance, then of course you don't even have to spend that. You can just put it in the fridge. But we like to have
fresh,
a little bit fresh. So we do a little bit of meal prep in terms of, for example, half baking the potatoes, or doing some things to quicken the process. But we still try to cook fresh with minimal amount of effort and time.
Is that for the kids as well? How do you structure the kids involved? Because that's obviously another factor people have to consider. For those who
so I think the kids also, we do meal prep, and we prepare, but their food is different than our plan. But yeah, we do the food prep for both on weekends or in the middle of the week whenever we get some time, and of course then all you have to do is spend this around 30-40 minutes on a daily basis to kind of get the, but this is for fresh. If you don't want to create, if you don't have this fascination with having piping hot food coming straight from the stove, then you don't even need to do this kind of on a daily basis. But I think this streamlining has made adherence actually possible, because the key to adherence that we have found, especially on the nutrition side, is that when you are during your meal time, either if you have the food already there, then there is no incentive for you to go and eat something else, because your food is ready, or it's there, right, for you. So you just go and you eat that, and you feel satisfied. But I think whenever there was a lapse in adherence, I think 90% of the time it was because we didn't have the meal prep done, or we couldn't. There was some issue with the ingredients, or sometimes they don't deliver the right things. So you have to kind of
you plan to fail. You fail to plan. You plan to fail, right? It's the simple.
Absolutely.
Yes, and I think anyone listening, the key thing here is not to copy Yusuf's strategy, or not to copy my strategy, but find a strategy that works for you. So for Yusuf, it's automating the food shopping, getting that to his door, and then partially cooking some foods, and then spending minimal time day to day. For others, it may be a 7-day full, I'm going to cook everything. For some people, there may be no food prep. It completely depends, but you've got to find that structure. And I think what you said there from an adherence perspective, I echo your comments in that I think it's one of the biggest drivers of adherence is finding your own nutritional preparation strategy that is seamless, effortless, and as time efficient as possible. Because if you're spending time thinking about what exact meal every single time you come to a mealtime, you're going to set yourself up for failure, right? You want to be on autopilot with these things, especially when you're busy. You've got a lot of decisions to make in the day. So I think it's very, very good tips. And yeah, I love this. I love the spreadsheet.
Yeah, I think I'm all about the data, as you probably know.
Yeah, you're a data guy, right? You're a data. I can only imagine your company dashboards being super detailed and on the nose all the time.
Yeah, we track so many things. Yeah.
Brilliant. So you kickstarted the process, started January 2021. Some of the things I remember from the some of the community events you'd come to, the virtual meets and the webinars is now, and I think it'd be really interesting to speak about this, because one of the things holding you back was social events and socializing and the circles you were in, and overcoming the aspect of socializing to get to your goal. Because if you don't mind me saying, you took about 3 months longer to hit your checkpoint than we could have, right? If you probably had the advice now around socializing. So if you were speaking to yourself back then, and also just describe this experience, because for many people it's different, right? Everyone's got their own journey. So talk about this experience for you with regards to socializing and how you in the end overcame it.
No, absolutely. I think socializing is a big part of life, of course, and you need to be able to balance your fitness regime along with your social aspect, because you can't sacrifice either of them, to be very honest. So for me personally, I think when I started my journey, it was all great. I started it in lockdown. So no issues on socialization. But I think when the lockdowns opened up, the social events started. And initially I was perfectly fine. So in the process phase, I think if you eat responsibly with the strategies lined out, by the RNT process, and Ed was actually quite helpful with, kind of, I think 1/4 plate of protein, 1/4 plate of carbs, and then put everything as veggies or something. That strategy works quite well. So if you follow those strategies, then you can get away with eating once or twice, in social events in a responsible and controlled way. But I think when you are now pushing to get to a checkpoint, which is, the final grind phase, I think. So what I realize is that no matter what strategy you use, if you don't have adherence, even for a single meal, you will not achieve your goals. So I think that is where I was struggling a little bit, where I got into the final phase of my checkpoint, so last 3 to 4 weeks effectively. And at that point, I still try to use the controlled process of eating out, which didn't work. And I think everybody may be different here. I mean, different people have different tolerances or sensitivities, in terms of how their weight fluctuates. But for me personally, I think I had reached that point where I was, lean, but I was not photo shoot lean. So to get that, the only way I could get that was to have no social events, I think, at that point. But I think even before that, I think I had a few kind of, challenges even before I got to this point. So I think some of the tips I can give on this, so there were 2 issues. So first of all, when my calories got reduced, they reduced to such a degree that the original meal plan that I had stopped working in terms of satiety. So I could not feel full after having, because I was having things like peanut butter and, which are kind of very heavy and satisfy you in terms of hunger. So I think then I switched to high volume foods completely. And that solved the issue for me personally. So then, I kind of completely switched out all this calorie dense foods like, peanut butter and dried dates. I'm a big fan of dried dates. I mean, I have it back in my plan now, but at that time, obviously in the calorie deficit phase, it doesn't help your objectives. So I took all of that out. Replaced my whole meal plan with completely high volume foods, and also I switched to 5 meals a day, which really helped. So I think two things which helped me to summarize. One is your plan and see if you can switch out some of the things to improve your satiety, because I think your plan needs to be changing in line with where you are at. I think you should try and do that as you progress along the journey, to experiment with what works for you. And secondly, of course, see if you are able to change the meal time. So I switched from 3 meals to 5 meals, and that solved all of the problems. That solved all the issues with cravings, all the issues with hunger. So I think that pretty much allowed me to progress to basically the start of the grind prof phase. And then of course and this strategy, where you can accommodate socials as well, where when you're out, you have lean protein, you prioritize your lean protein and your veggies, and a bit of carbs on the side, and then that kind of carbs and fats, and that works for social events, I think. And one more thing I would like to say on social events is that I think initially, I think people are not aware that you're going through the process. So, and I think you might feel a bit uncomfortable sharing that with your friends. But I would recommend that you do share your journey with your friends, because that helps immensely as an extra layer of accountability, and they will also support you in the process. Because now, if I go to any friend's house, everybody already knows me. They know about my journey. They know about my process. They've also seen my pictures, so they know that there is a there is a positive thing attached to the end of it as well, right? I'm not just doing it just to inconvenience myself. So now automatically, and this happened last week. I think I was at a friend's house, and they were offering sweets to everybody, and they just skipped me by default. Okay, which was great, because I didn't have to refuse them. Yeah. And also it was great because everybody knows that he's not going to have those sweets. But he also felt bad that I was not offered.
Yeah. I think what I really like what you said is the concept of trial and error. You've not been afraid for trial and error. And I think some people go wrong in that they think if it's not going to work straight away, that's it. They've not found their lifestyle solution. Whereas you've kind of had a lot of trial and error to really nail this. And we're going to come on to it later on, where we discuss like your journey since the checkpoint, because I think that's even better. But what you described there, for example, 3 meals to 5, that's completely the opposite to me. I prefer, when I'm dieting, to have less meals, and then I fast until 1 p.m. Then I have 3 bigger meals with 1 big meal at night. Completely opposite to you, we're doing 5 meals a day, but that works for you. That doesn't work for me. Yeah. And just goes to show that if you're not paying attention to what you're doing, if you're not self-aware with your different trial and error mechanisms, you miss out on such a good learning opportunity to find your lifestyle solution. And I think that's a really good take-home point that you mentioned there.
Definitely. I think you have to find what works for you. I think that is the most important takeaway from this.
Yeah. And just to add on that, with regards to the socials, I think the other thing is, like, if you're going through the grind, which for anyone who doesn't know what it is, it's the last sort of 2-3 weeks where you're really pushing everything you can to get to the best possible shape of your life. If you're voluntarily going to restaurants and putting yourself in difficult situations, you're going to make things very difficult. Now, of course, outside of this, you can build a lifestyle solution and enjoy the meals and make sensible choices and stay on track of your goals. But there's a time and place for everything. And in the grind where you're really pushing towards that elusive checkpoint, it's probably not the time. Which kind of segues nicely into cravings. Like, people struggle with cravings during this period, and especially when they're dieting. How do they stay full? You mentioned one around high volume foods, using a lot of high volume foods, but talk to us about some of the strategies you had for dealing with cravings.
Yeah, I think the craving is an interesting one, because so I think my body, Yeah. So So the question about cravings is an interesting one. So I was always the super skinny one. So I actually had trouble putting on weight, in the sense that doesn't matter how much I eat, it's always, it moves very slowly in the upward direction. So I actually never had issues with cravings or anything like that in my life. So I actually kind of, I never understood the concept of cravings. So when people talk to me, I could not relate to them. They were talking, you can just eat whatever you like, if you don't like it, don't eat it, what's the big deal? So, but of course, when I started doing the process, I kind of, when the calories went really low, at that time, obviously, I started kind of, kind of getting the feelings that, okay, I want to eat something, which is not healthy. Like, for example, I don't even like eating cookies and biscuit, but for some reason, during that phase, I felt I had to eat a cookie or a biscuit, and then that was very strange for me personally, because I don't even like having that in my normal life. So then I kind of dug deeper to figure out exactly what is happening here, right? So I found out that this is only happening if I haven't had my meals at regular times. So if, for example, I usually have a very well-defined schedule. I have my breakfast at 7:30 in the morning, and then I have the first snack at 10 o'clock. I have my lunch at 1 o'clock. I have the snack at 4 o'clock, and then I have my dinner at 6:30. So this is my time. Now, when the calories are getting really low, even if there is a half an hour difference, right, between kind of, so if I don't have my snack at 10 o'clock, because I am in a meeting, I couldn't have it for 10:30 or 11. So then, obviously, I get these cravings, and then I eat something which is outside of my plan, pretty much. So this is what was happening, and I noticed a pattern that. So then what I used to do to counter that is, if I know I'm having a meeting, right, from 10 to 11 or from 9 to 11, and I'm not going to be able to go and have the snack, so I used to bring the snack with me.
Yeah, why not?
In the middle of the meeting, right? So that's what I used to do. So you absolutely stick to the meal times on the dot. So no compromises there. Even for lunch, I used to have the lunch in the middle of the meeting, just so that I don't eat anything outside of the plan. So because, for example, if I don't have my lunch at 1 o'clock, and then I finish my meeting at 1:30 or 2, I go in, and then if I have to wait another 15 minutes for the food to prepare, in those 15 minutes, I will eat something which is outside of the plan, for sure. So that was one strategy that I use successfully to prevent cravings, where you switch to high volume foods to increase to improve your hunger feeling, and you stick to times religiously, and of course meal prep. So this all goes together. I mean, because if there's even a single breakdown in any of these things, the whole process stops working, basically.
Yeah, mealtime is when things get into the nitty-gritty, mealtime is going to really, really help. And your body also runs on a clock itself. So, once it gets trained to a certain timing and you miss it, it kind of throws everything off kilter a bit. And yeah, just on that, like, how's your relationship with food evolved? You're coming up as a skinny guy who never had to think about food. Like, how's your relationship with food evolved? Do you think of food differently? Do you have different concepts around it that you had before? Talk to us through that.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that food. I mean, I am a big connoisseur of food. I like eating, kind of interesting and novel things, and I still do that occasionally. But I think the whole education on nutrition kind of has been very, very powerful for me in the last year, particularly. So I know what to eat, why to eat, and I know the impact that it has on my body. So I have a huge amount of data now. I mean, in terms of nutrition has basically, it was a missing piece to my fitness journey or fitness regime, I would say. It has always been the missing piece, and I've figured out that missing piece of the puzzle last year. So that has been great personally for me. So I think my relationship with food, I would say, has been I mean, okay, like I didn't, I never had to kind of, worry about that before I started RNT. But after I started RNT, I got very knowledgeable about the choices. Yeah. So I would say that during the process phase, I think I had a difficult time, as I said, with figuring out all these cravings and stuff. But once I figured that out, now I'm in my investment phase, and I have gone back to kind of not worrying about everything. Things just work,
Yeah.
So I know. Okay, so in the afternoon, so I've been having the same food for last 6 months, pretty much. So lunch and dinner and snacks, everything is the same, and I know what I like. So it's effortless, I would say, the relationship with food. Whenever I kind of, we do go out for socials, I'm a bit more careful about what I choose in the restaurants. So if I'm going to Nando's, for example, earlier I just ordered whatever everybody else was. I didn't really think much about it, but now I can say, okay, well, now I know if I'm going to Nando's, I'm going to order the chicken butterfly, chicken breast. So like I'm much more conscious about the choices that I make, and I'm always in control of everything. And obviously, I didn't even know about some of the things, like, for example, glycemic index. I didn't know what it was before RNT, but now I know what it is, and what kind of an impact it has on your health. And I've stopped a lot of the stimulants as well now. I mean, so initially, I used to have tea, coffee, and yeah, I used to have stimulants during the day, but I've come into a very clean kind of a lifestyle, in the sense that I know how to manage my energy levels without having stimulants. So I know I don't drink coffee, I don't drink tea, and I can have the same. I can operate at peak mental and physical capacity without any stimulants for the whole day. Like
That's
that
amazing.
is something that was not possible before. I think before I got this knowledge of nutrition and fitness. Yeah,
That's
and how the
incredible.
body behaves. Yeah,
That's incredible. So let's shift gears now to what's happened since the checkpoint. For us at RNT, the checkpoint is just a fleeting moment of the journey. It's the only end of the phase 2, phase 5, and there's a lot to gain after. Two things on this: firstly, the journey since the checkpoint, but also the mindset of playing the long game. You're someone who's fully invested in the long-term journey. Talk about that and why it's so important to play the long game and how it's been for you. Just before we got on air, and actually, funny enough, today on the day we were recording the podcast, we saw some pictures of you as of today, I believe, and this time last year, so February 15th, 2022, February 15th, 2021, same body weight, completely different look. And again, we'll put this in the case study in the show notes. But so the benefit of the long-term game, talk us through it. What's it been like?
Yeah, so I think I had read enough about the R&D process to know that the checkpoint is just the beginning. It's not the end of the journey. So I think mentally I was prepared to kind of not obsess too much about the checkpoint. But having said that, I think once I went through the process after the checkpoint, I still made a few mistakes, even after knowing and reading and making myself aware about reading everybody's case studies, reading all the podcasts and everything. So I think one of the mistakes I made was as soon as I think Ed told me that, Yusuf, now your calories go up by 300. So like I was jumping around when I heard that after the checkpoint, and I completely changed my nutrition plan on the next day, and I brought back like peanut butter and all the things that I had taken out 2-3 months back. So, and then I really struggled. So for the next I think a week, I was extremely miserable. I struggled a lot, and then I had a conversation with Ed, and I think we went back to the original plan. So I think one of the questions that I told me is that, Yusuf, it doesn't make sense what you are doing, because you know what works for you and what has worked for you up to the checkpoint. So why would you suddenly throw all of that out of the window and switch to a completely new routine or a new nutrition plan, right? Why would you do that? I understood what you were saying. So then I switched back to the original plan, but just increase the quantities of the same kind of things, which actually had worked for me so far, right? So as soon as I did that, everything went back on track again. So I just increased the quantities of protein, carbs, and fats of the same things that I was eating on a day-to-day basis. and that was it is a very simple thing, but I think at that point in time, obviously, it was not very evident, not very clear to me. So I think then it all worked fine. So after that, I did my consolidation. I think I still kind of, I think it was not perfect because of, making this mistake. And then also, I think after my checkpoint, I think I got a few injuries as well because of playing sports. I mean, mostly because I had a lot more energy. So I started doing so many things. I continued doing. So literally, I played football once a week. I play badminton twice a week. I play squash Sundays, and I play tennis on the week on the Saturday. Initially, I only used to play 2 sports. Because obviously, I didn't have enough energy to do 5 sports in a week. But
Wow.
suddenly, I started doing 5 sports in a week, and obviously, kind of, I got injured in my foot and my elbow, and then obviously, I took it back down a notch after that, and then I spent my energies elsewhere. But but I think, of course, I think, yeah. So that has been a good learning process for me. Consolidation phase was very important. I did make a few mistakes, but I recovered from it very quickly because of the guidance, in the RNT process and my coach. And then after that, obviously, kind of, the nutrition plan stabilized my fitness. I think my fitness adherence was never an issue. I mean, I had 100% adherence on the training side of things. I think always it was always the nutrition, which I think was a new thing for me when I joined the R&D process. So I think that once I mastered that in consolidation, and then of course I got into the investment phase, and now I think things are kind of quite smooth at the moment.
Yeah, like consolidation for everyone who does it the first time is always going to be a little bit rocky. But I think, like you said, it's about recovering very quickly from it and not letting a few kilos become 10 kilos. It's like if you accidentally put on, well, not accidentally, if you lose a little bit of control and you gain a few kilos, it's like, okay, let's get ourselves back in check. This is very normal. Let's get back to baseline and just regain control again, because this is the difference between falling back to square one and being able to then get into the investment phase, which is where you're in now, and where you can get to the position where you look you're the same body weight, but you look completely different. You're much more intuitive and effortless with your food and your nutritional and your socializing setup. So talk us through that and what the investment phase and some of the learnings you've had on the investment phase and some of the benefits of the investment phase that you've experienced in the last year or so.
Absolutely. I think the investment phase is really kind of, I would advise everybody to stick to the process to kind of, really enjoy the benefits of the investment phase. So the more work you put in the earlier parts of the journey, the better the rewards, when you come into investment. So I think the first thing is obviously, your calories go back up, which is always, very good, because then you have a lot of options with your nutrition plan. There is a bit more buffer available for social events and doing things outside of a plan. So you really need to learn how to nail the social aspect and doing things in a controlled way outside of the plan. I think that's a skill. It takes a while to learn, but I think if you have done things properly up to that point and you've reached that consolidation, and I think you should have figured that out, what works for you, I think, by that point. If not, of course, there's always, the help and support available from the R&D coaches, I think. So they have pretty much seen each and every scenario that you could possibly imagine happen before. So I think that always helps. So yeah, it has been really good. I think nutrition was the key area that I had to conquer. I mean, I had learned early on that, that if I can nail that, the training, the sports and the yoga and all the other things were something that I had in place already before I joined the process. But yeah, definitely, I think now I'm really kind of, in a very good state physically and mentally. I have huge amounts of energy, which I can actually put to better uses in my professional life as well. You are on mute, Akash.
Apologies. So brilliant segue into what I love hearing every time I ask the question. Tell us how the physical has been the vehicle for you in this journey so far.
I think the physical has always been, the vehicle. So I think if you want to really perform well, right, the physical is definitely the vehicle that you need to leverage to get peak performance in life. So so what I mean by peak performance is that, if you want to do something, it's a combination of physical and mental. And I always believe that the mental element, which is the brain, is actually physically in your body. So any exercise that you do with the body, any movement that you do also impacts the brain, because physically it is located within your body, right? So the physical is the vehicle which allows you to perform at peak capacity. If you're able to hack that, if you're able to hack your body to understand what actually makes it perform at the peak, then that is exactly the journey that you need to undertake to figure that out. And the R&D process basically, gives you that opportunity to try different things, to get some structure in place, especially when it comes to fitness, how to actually bring that structure so that it coexists and balances with your professional and social life. And once you master that, then you really can unlock peak performance from your body. And again, when I say from your body, physically the body itself, and physically the brain, which actually does its mental thing, right? So you need to look at the brain as a physical object in your body as well, and physical is the vehicle, I would say, to unlock the full capacity. Yeah.
Amazing. What have you done in your life that you didn't think was possible before?
Well, I think I didn't think I could actually run two startups together.
I don't know how you do it, honestly.
Yeah, so that's something which I'm able to do now, because obviously I have more structure in my day. I have obviously more energy, and the most important thing, as I said before, is I'm able to operate at peak mental capacity throughout the day, and which is, I think, very imperative for doing this in your professional life. Yeah, so I think the RNT journey has been quite beneficial for me personally. As I've said, I think the nutrition element was the missing piece of the puzzle when it came to my fitness regime, and that has actually added a multiplier effect. It's almost 10x benefits, I would say. So if you get the nutrition piece right, which is like a fuel to your body, then your body can work much better. Imagine if you put a diesel in a petrol car, right? What happens? So the same effect. Or if you are driving on the motorway in your third gear, right? You will not be able to get the best out of your vehicle. So physical is the vehicle, so your body is the vehicle, and you need to make sure that the right fuel, it gets the right fuel in the sense of nutrition, and that you are using it optimally. So you're using it, you're operating at the highest gear, and not restricted because of previous life choices or your nutritional choices or any other choices that you have made in your life, which will hold you back effectively for again, for peak performance.
Amazing. I love it. And if you're speaking to someone who's early on in their journey right now, we've got a lot of people start in January, people early on. What's the best advice you give them? And what are some words for them?
I think there are a couple of things that I would like to say. So first is please leverage the power of the RNT Pro platform. I think when I started my journey, obviously it was not available, and I had to spend a lot of time, on a lot of reading a lot of material on Facebook and on the RNT website to actually get the learnings.
But now all the information is presented to you in a very curated and a structured way, in sort of a curriculum as well as the learning sections. So I think please, a huge amount of, because I come from the technology field, I build platforms for a living. I know the amount of effort that takes to actually get this in place. Just tremendous amount of effort has gone in. So please leverage that to the fullest. There's a huge amount of good information which will help you in your journey. Second thing is, please trust the process. The RNT process, has worked for quite a lot of people, and it's not kind of a rigid process. It gives you the structure and the tools. So use it as a tool to figure out, what works best for you and get the balance in your life and stick with it. I think don't give up too early, because it will work. It will enable you, it will give you the tools to do that introspection that you need to figure it out. It's not, it's very prescriptive, but at the same time, it gives you those tools. So trust the process, trust your coaches, use the R&D platform effectively, and yeah, do your best. I would say. I think you will definitely get the objectives that you are looking to achieve if you follow the process. I mean, that's what I would say for young people who joined the journey recently.
Amazing. And to finish up, what's next in store for Yusuf? What's 2020 hold? 2022 hold?
Yeah, I think 2022 is an exciting year for me personally. We have just launched the new AI-based events platform, which kind of is going to revolutionize how networking happens online primarily.
Wow. What's it called? Happy for you to give a shout out to your two startups.
Yeah, so I think it's called New Norm Events. So it's www.newnorm.events. So I think that's the New Norm Events platform. It's a virtual event which can be used to organize events, online events, for either doing shows like this or even for networking. It's an AI-based platform for event organizers primarily. And my other business is about automation of recruitment. So it's www.recruitmentsmart.com. It's about using AI to automate candidate sourcing, candidate screening, and candidate engagement for large organizations globally.
Wow, very, very impressive, and hope all the goals you set yourself for 2022 come true with these startups.
Thanks a lot, Akash. I think I'm really excited for 2022, and I'm looking forward to my R&D journey as well in 2022. Yeah.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having you. Thanks so much for being honest about your journey, sharing your journey. For those of you listening, make sure you check out Yusuf's case study linked in the show notes. And if you didn't see the incredible data sheet that you presented earlier, that'll be in the show notes and on YouTube. Thanks so much for coming on, Yusuf.
Thanks for inviting me, Akash. It was a real pleasure talking to you about the journey.